Hey, this is Full Game Prometheus, the only YouTuber that actually shows you full games of all the tips and schemes he breaks down on his channel. I show you the good, the bad, and the ugly against online ranked opponents. Alright, so guys, I'm going to jump into probably one of the most popular formations in the game, and I have not utilized it outside of one particular play in the past. And Gun Snugs formation. Matter of fact, the Arizona Cardinals book is fairly popular. I am not an expert in this formation. So guys, I'm not going to go ahead and say that I run this thing correctly. I know a lot of guys actually use this to get big plays out of this particular formation. And really, it's not my mentality to go ahead and push the ball down the field for 30, 40-yard gains. I don't necessarily do that a lot. I like to do high percentage, high completion type routes and set my opponent up for a big play, but I really like moving the chains more than anything else. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Gun Snugs. In particular, we're going to go ahead. We have basically two audible calls. Is going to be Zona Seams and then also Play Action Zona Cross. Now, Zona Seams, I've actually jumped into it in some of my Arizona series. I missed some reads, but I had some opportunities to make some good plays, and I went ahead and played around with the Play Action Zone Across. Now, I've actually used this in a previous playbook, which was Pittsburgh, and I made some adjustments to use it to beat cover 2, but I'm going to go ahead and show you another way to run this particular play where it's a quick hike play. The other plays we're going to take a look at is going to be the Zona Z Spot, another good play to be able to hit your opponent, especially a cover 2 spammer, and then Bench. Bench is going to be my base play. This is going to be a play that we're going to utilize against my opponent to start with, and then establish the rest of the plays from there. So let's jump into Bench and just kind of go from there. And we're going to go against just random, let's go against random dollar defenses because dollar 326 is very popular. And basically with this particular play, I'm going to do the following adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and max protect and put my running back on a block. And the reason why is I don't really want to check down to him. I'm going to take my wide receiver number 1 and actually streak him up, and take my other wide receiver and actually put him on a slant route. Now my progressions are going to be from right to left, I'm going to look at Fitzgerald first and see if his seam opens up. Quick motion, and then I actually drop down to this motion slant route, which is very, very effective. So one of the good things about having the max protect option with this particular play is that you've got an easy way to go ahead and block your running back. You don't lose any kind of an audible because it's an offensive line audible. This is going to essentially be my reads, my progressions. I'm going to go ahead and look at Fitzgerald in the seam, and if nobody follows him in the seam, I'm going to go ahead and look for the slant route right there. Now, underneath coverage is going to get exposed by this particular route, but this is just establishing the scheme because we're going to be able to jump into multiple different plays from there, and I want to go ahead and show my opponent the same look and actually force them to go ahead and stop certain things. Now, right here, as you can see, I didn't get the ball in bounds, but that was an opportunity to go ahead and hit a cover 2 beater with this particular scheme. So this is cover 3. You can see the high safety right in the middle of the field. Let's see if anybody falls in the seam. Nope. And right there, Fitzgerald's able to go to get a high pass lead right up the middle for easy completion for me. So once again, we're going to max protect. We're going to go streak up our wide receiver number 1. Our wide receiver number 2, we're going to go ahead and put him on a slant, motion him out, and look for the inside release with that motion slant. That's going to establish this play all the way across the guard right there. It's going to keep things going. Now this could be cover 2 right now. We're going to go ahead and once again motion this guy out. Looks like it's cover 2, and now you've got your cover 2 beater on the back side if he jumps into cover 2, and that's going to be one of the holes that you're going to be able to attack your opponent with cover 2. So let's go ahead and jump into the next play. So really it's going to be once again, I'm looking at this guy, seeing if anybody falls in his area. If no one falls in his area, I'm going to rifle the ball to him because I know that this slant on the back side is actually going to come wide open. Now, I could still force that ball in there, but because I was showing cover 2, I can immediately make my next progression, which is going to be this deep corner route, which is going to expose the cover 2, and I can pick up a good 25 yards right there with the cover 2 beater. All right, so we broke down Bench. The next play we're going to take a look at, which is a unique play to call, is going to be the Zona Z Spot. Zona Z Spot, because this actually does hit your opponent in different areas that he's probably not used to seeing. And once again, we're going to go against dollar defenses. Now, if you want to, you can leave the spot route up there, motion it out, and just go ahead and hit the spot route. It's going to fall into a little area that's going to be unique, but I think you're better off staying with the motion slant, because that actually is going to be more consistent. You know you're going to be able to go ahead and beat somebody and maybe break it for a big yardage right there. So really still the same kind of concept. The only advantage of this is that basically you've got a table route with a running back that you can actually hit your opponent with and pick up some pretty good yards if you can turn it up. And if you do the spot route, if you leave that stock and don't do the motion slants, that table route should get a little bit better separation right there. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and take this ball again. Now what makes this play unique is this route right here by that backside wide receiver. If your opponent falls into zone coverages, so if you can see right here, this looks like it's a cloud coverage, and I'll show you what I mean by a cloud coverage. You got this guy falling back into a deep third. He falls back into a deep third. He falls back into a deep third. And then this guy actually falls back into a deep third, which is Sherman. He falls back into deep third. So this is, cloud coverages, cover sixes. They're basically bait coverages for people that are looking to play against maybe cover 3 or cover 2. He falls into a flat and he's actually waiting. So what's great about this particular play is that because this route right here goes into a weird circle route and then comes back around, you've got this whip route that's going to basically preoccupy 2 different defenders. Essentially you can hit this guy over the middle and pick up an easy progression. So that's what's good about the zona scheme, is that if you got a guy who's running a lot of cover 3, even cover 4, this is a route that just can't, those coverages really can't defend it. It's a very difficult route to defend. It also beats man coverage too. So if you get the time to throw it, this route is going to be deadly. Now on the backside, this route right here is a nice little cover 3 beater, man coverage beater too, and it gets very good depth too. But by the time he makes his turn, he's going to be 15, 17 yards up the field. So once again, this is probably a quick hike play. Don't make any adjustments. That gives you the table route that you can hit. This guy will sit down into a zone. So if the guy goes over the top coverage to try to take away the big plays, you've got that spot route that you actually can hit. You've also got this little whip route that actually works like a spot route too, which is something you can do if your opponent is hitting you with pressure. So if you feel like the pressure is coming in right away, you can go ahead and pop that little route underneath. You can get an easy completion and force your opponent to play underneath to go ahead and stop the big play. So we got rolling coverage right here, so it's probably going to be blitz off the edge. And that's when you want to go ahead and hit a table route. The defender actually floated. Now, what's bad about this particular formation is, especially if you got a bad line like the Cardinals, is that you're not going to be able to get the deep ball off, which is that deep C route by Brown, the triangle icon. You're going to have to make sure that you're playing against a guy that's providing some coverage, because if he starts blitzing you, you're never going to be able to get that ball off correctly. And I've ran into people like that with this play in previous Maddens. So you have to make your regressions fairly quick and fairly fast. Make sure you beat them underneath. That way you're still getting positive yardage. I wouldn't jump into this play in a long situation, just because unless you're going to block your running back, but you do lose some of your route progressions with that. So let's see if we can get this. Nope, can't get it off right there. Actually just overthrew my wide receiver. But as you can see, this has got a lot of unique plays in this particular formation. You can definitely pick up some pretty good yards off it. It's going to hit different areas of the field. It's going to be very difficult for your opponent to stop the inside. And then you've got the deep corner routes on each side of the field that are going to be very, very effective against your opponent. So right here, I'll be able to go and hit Fitzgerald for a nice completion right in the corner. All right, so the next play we're going to take a look at is going to be zona seams, and this play has been used and abused online a lot. A lot of the top Madden players really have this play down to the science, and I actually missed several reads on this. So I went back in the playbook, or back in the lab, to try to understand how this play works, just to understand the concepts a little bit better. We're going to go against random dollar defenses right now. And basically what I like to do is I like to take Brown and put him on a quick out route, and my progressions are going to be from right to left. I'm going to look at Nelson. If nobody falls into the area, I'm going to go ahead and pop him. Just like a verticals play out of the gun bunch is essentially that concept right there. If nobody falls there, I'm going to go ahead and hit him. So as you can see, able to go ahead and get a nice little completion, even though the defender came down in a hard flat to go ahead and take that away. Now, I got a blitz going off to the right-hand side. I've got rolling coverage. So we're going to go ahead and take the quick out route on the backside. It's just essentially the same bench concept that we had before. I'm going to go ahead and do Brown and an outs. Take Nelson, motion him over. I've got the seam right there with Fitzgerald. Able to go ahead and pick up an easy yards. Got some kind of a blitz coming off the edge. And if you're going to get pressure, you might as well just go ahead and attack your opponent with a quick out. So this is a very good play to go ahead and hit your opponent against the seams if he's not paying attention. You've also got that corner route. So Brown, my triangle wide receiver, he's on that corner route, and you can basically get some pretty monster plays with that if your opponent is sleeping. And let's see here, overthrew the ball right there. I'm going to go ahead and put Brown in an out route. We're going to motion Nelson over, still give him the concern to look at that. And right here, I can go ahead and hit him with that angle route right there. So instant replay, basically want to go and motion this guy over. As you can see, the defender falls in the area. My next progression is the seam, but these guys are actually trailing the seam, so that's going to be my next progression. Out route is actually falling into a cloud coverage, but you can see right here that this guy, if you do a pass lead to the outside, you can be able to hit it. This defender is actually playing very good. Now, this is Seattle. And basically Seattle's a very good defense. It's got a lot of playmakers on the defense, and I've also got the Carolina offensive line, which is atrocious, and that's the reason why they were bad this year, is their offensive line was atrocious. But you can see right here, I'm able to go to get a nice completion. This route will open up against cover 2. If your opponent's not playing cover 2 sync, and you can basically hit your opponent for some monster yards because of just the way the play sets up, because you've got this guy going down the seam, and both of the cover 2 coverages actually have to fall back in there. So once again, this is a cloud flat because you got 3 guys going back into deep routes. So that's what's good about it. So the next play we're going to take a look at is going to be play action zone across, and I've actually broken this down against with the Pittsburgh playbook, but I've actually decided to go ahead and run this play a little bit differently. All right, so when I ran this with the Pittsburgh playbook, I was looking for a cover 2 beater. So basically what I would do is I'd block my running back, I'd go ahead and take this wide receiver and put him over, and then actually go ahead and slant up on back wide receiver just to give me another read. But the problem is that the way I'm running the scheme, I'm doing a motion routes with that outside wide receiver Nelson. So I need to give my opponent essentially the same look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and block and release my running back to give myself another progression down on the backside. I'm going to take Nelson and I'm going to go ahead and just motion this guy out and then snap the ball. 90% of the time I'm going to go ahead and attack Brown with this route. That's going to be the person I'm primarily going to focus with because for most part he's essentially going to get wide open with this, whether it's man or zone coverage. And the reason why is that Nelson is going to go ahead and clear out the zones for him, and defenders they have to compensate for both of them. Now, if I've got basically hard coverage underneath, then basically Nelson should get wide open on the backside of it. But what's good about this particular play is it's a fast hike, and occasionally you can go ahead and break down some pretty good yards from that. Once again, we're going to motion Nelson out, block and release. And this is where you can really get some big yards against your opponent if he does some kind of hard flat coverage if you wait for the route to develop. If the coverage is coming down, it's playing. See, this guy is still wide open, so you can essentially force that play. But if you let the play develop a little bit more, this defender is going to come down, and because this guy is stretching both of your deep blue shells, he should be wide open, and he's going to run almost like a vertical. down the sideline, so that's where you can actually get a big completion against your opponent if you wait. I also do like doing a block and release with the running back just to give myself some additional blocking right there. So he actually does take out an edge blitzer. And I probably could have checked down for that, but I actually, because I want a little bit of depth, I was able to go and hit that big play. So this is kind of a compliment. You're going to basically hit your opponent in all different areas of the field. He's going to have to be conscious of the motion, which is going to be the out with the flag. You've got the deep, basically the seam route that he's going to have to be conscious of, and then you have the complement of these routes on the backside right here, whether it's the deep circle route or if it's going to the corner route. You got an out route right here. This is going to be very, very difficult to stop this. Now, I didn't really master this formation. I just was jumping into it and playing around. So now, since I actually have some kind of a scheme I can attack my opponent with, we'll see how things work out. So to my subscribers, I hope you guys picked up some pretty good tips from this particular scheme. It's not the perfect scheme. I don't really have it down to a science because Gun Snugs is not in every single book, but it is a fairly popular formation and there's a lot of great plays in it. So to my subscribers, thank you for support, and until next time.